I don't know how many on here have heard about NAMI, but I work for NAMI, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. We are the largest grassroots organization in the United States that we do. We advocate for people living with mental illness, such as myself and others. And we do all of our trainings are free. We try to, we have support groups. We try to get as many people trained so there can be support groups in all kinds of different communities and things like that. So people living with mental illness have people, because nobody understands what it's like to be living with a mental illness and other people living with mental illness. So, and we offer that. And it's just peers like myself. It's not therapists or anything. It's just more, they're peer run. So anyway, it's 1:02. So let's get started. Hi, my name's Nicole, and I'm a 51-year-old mother and a wife and a grandma of a just adorable little boy. I enjoy photography and camping. I was adopted into my family when I was 8 weeks old. I'm the youngest of three, and I had a wonderful father, mom, brother, sister. Oh, not my brother so much, he's a typical brother, but anyway, I do love him. He was just kind of, a big brother. And my fondest memories were camping with my family. And my favorite camping trip was we took a camping trip to Yellowstone, and it was amazing. Did you know in the United States, every 98 seconds, someone is sexually assaulted? On child sexual abuse, 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys will be sexually abused before the time they are 18 years old. For adults, 1 in 2 women and 1 in 5 men will experience some sort of contact sexual violence in their lifetime. And over 17,000 women have been raped since 1998. And that's sexual violence. And that the sexual violent predators, 99% of them walk free. And on mental illness in the United States, 8% of Americans suffer with PTSD in their lifetime. 7.1 suffer with depression. 2.6 live with bipolar disorder. And 1.6 have borderline personality disorder. And I live with all these, but this is my story. I'm here to tell you what it's like to live with mental illness for me. Every day I wake up, it's a struggle. It's a struggle with my own mind. My mind tells me I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Everybody hates me, and it lies to me. It tells me that the things that I do aren't good enough. Or some mornings I wake up and I might be manic. And to me, mania means talking too fast. I will jump from one conversation to the next very quickly, never really finishing a thought. And I will talk fast, and I will just jump all over the place when I'm talking. And it feels like mania for me feels like I'm on top of the world. Like nobody can touch me. I'm the best, the smartest. I just feel like you're on cloud 9 when I have mania days. And then I have days I can't get. It's very hard for me to get out of bed. It tells my mind tells me I can't do it, and what I can't do is life. It's very hard to live with depression. It would be really, really nice to wake up and not feel that way. But unfortunately, with my bipolar 2, I have a lot of depression. So when I was little, I told my mom that I always felt like I was on the outside looking in, like my whole family member was all there together and they were all laughing and happy and stuff. And often I wasn't. And we had a collie, she looked like Lassie, and she was like my best friend. And I did have a few friends, but I was so smothering towards them. I felt like if my friend would go to her cousin's house, like she would like her cousin more and she'd forget about me and not want to play with me. And I'd often cry when I found out that she was at her cousin's and not playing with me. So when I was 11 years old, I admitted to my mother that I had a secret. I told her my deepest, darkest secret, which normally took place on holidays, but most of the time these holidays was Christmas. My family would go to St. Louis, and I'd often be left alone with my grandpa and my two younger cousins. My mom and my grandma, my aunts, and my sister, they'd all go shopping. And my dad would take my brother. I don't know where they went, but they'd disappear for a while. So I was told if I told anybody what he was doing to me, that he would tell everybody that I was a liar and that everybody would hate me in the family. And so I finally told my mom that my grandfather, her dad, was molesting me. Honestly, it was so whatever was said to my mom and I in this time, I don't remember at all. My mind has blocked it out. It was obviously very painful. But I do remember my dad was like super, super upset, and he was just pacing back and forth, and well, we're gonna call the police, and I'm like, well, what's gonna happen to grandma? I'm 11 years old. I'm like, what's gonna happen to my grandma? We can't do that to grandma. So nothing ever was done. And I didn't want to be around my family members when my grandpa would tell me that they were going to hate me. And sadly, I think I feel that is true, that a lot of my mom's family doesn't believe me and thinks I'm a liar. But my parents put me into therapy immediately, and I don't laugh about that. I laugh about my mother picked. It was my brother's best friend's dad, and so super duper awkward. And he would ask me, here I am, 11 years old, and he's asking me, what things did my grandpa do to me? Well, I at this age, at 51, I wouldn't want to talk to somebody about what the things were that my grandfather did to me. But he expected me, I guess, as an 11-year-old, to sit there and tell him all the things that my grandpa did. So anyway, I always wondered why it didn't happen to like my sister or my cousin Kimmy, because why did it happen to me? Why didn't it happen to them? So most of the times when my parents would go to St. Louis as I got older, I just didn't go. I didn't want to be around them, and I'm pretty well the same as today. I still don't spend a lot of time with my mother's family. So and then over time, Christmas, of course, became my trigger. Sadly, I ruined a lot of Christmases for my family because I have the flashbacks mostly on Christmas, and sadly, my poor children. I'm sure I ruined a lot of them for them too. So high school was really hard for me. I had a really low self-esteem from what had happened to me, but I also had a really severe learning disabilities, and at times I didn't have very many friends. And I had a couple suicide attempts while I was in high school. Most of the time it was like, digging at my wrist with razors. But I did one time take a lot of my dad's medication. Now I don't remember which medication it was. I just remember it knocked me out, and my mom kept having to wake me up. Well, as I was getting into high school, I would begin having fits of rage, and I would take them out on my family. I was too shy to do it to, other people, but I would take it out on my family. It wasn't that I hated my family. It was I didn't know how to talk to them about my feelings and about what was going on. My parents sought out therapists for me, and I did like one. Of course, my parents hated her because she said I should move in with my boyfriend. But my mom was not for that. But anyway, so at 17, I did end up moving in with my boyfriend, and we had very violent, extremely violent fights, and I ended up pregnant at 17. And I moved back home, and I dropped out of high school, and then my family ended up moving up to Jeff City because at the time we were living down in Joplin, my dad got transferred. So at 18 years old, I get my first mental health diagnosis that I can remember. I'm sure I had depression as a child, but of manic depression, which is bipolar disorder. And I told my childhood best friend about it, and she said, "Nicole, that's really bad." So I didn't talk about it until my 40s. I just hid it. So my 20s, which was the 90s, were a roller coaster. I was divorced twice. I had 2 kids by the age of 24. I fight major bouts of depression, and I go to therapists off and on. And my first hospitalization was in my 20s, and the doctor puts me on some medication, and everything's going well. I'm feeling good. And then, of course, once I start feeling good, I don't want to take the medication anymore. So I just stopped taking it. So, it's not helping anything, because then I get the manic phases for a while, and then the depression comes back in. But I often felt suicidal in my 20s, but I did not make an attempt on my life in my 20s. But I would cry myself to sleep so many times, because I was like, I just want to feel normal. I just want to feel normal. So my 30s are different. Things seem to level out for me, and I was the most stable that I've ever been in my life. I obtained a decent job in the state of Missouri. I had a great group of friends. I meet my husband. Things are going really, really well. And then by the time that the late 30s start rolling in, I start feeling that depression again. It's kind of kicking back in, and it's just starting to not as bad as it was going to get, but it was starting to feel like this black cloud was following me. And I had a friend when I was 39 years old. My friend in Joplin, he died of a massive heart attack, and I was completely jealous of him. And my mom's like, "Why? He's dead." And I was like, "Yeah, exactly. He doesn't have to feel pain anymore. He doesn't have to worry about what life feels like anymore. He's that stopped for him." And I'm sure that alarmed my mother, but that's exactly how I felt. So in my 40s, I survived two failed suicide attempts, as well as keeping friends. And I often feel alone and abandoned. My marriage was really shaky and on the rocks. And my husband was taking the brunt of my anger. And so I also had very, which I still do, reckless spending sprees. But I did reach out, and I found a therapist. And then finding that therapist, she got me to go to a behavioral health place in Columbia. And I went up there, and they also diagnosed me with borderline personality disorder, and that I got on meds. And then when I was at the behavioral health place, they recommended this therapy called DBT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy. Life changer, life changer. It took a year, and I went every Tuesday up to Columbia, and it's a commitment, but it's worth it. The lady who developed DBT also has borderline personality disorder, so she can get a little flowery, but it's good. It's a really good training. It teaches you how to get out of your emotional mind and be more mindful of what's going on. So I'm sorry, I lost my place. Oh, it teaches me how not to jump to conclusions, which I'm really good at, being that I have all these wonderful things going on in my life, and how to tell if I'm in my head or not. So I began to get involved in things. At the time, I was working for the Missouri Department of Mental Health, and they had a conference down at the lake called the Real Voices, Real Choices, and I got involved with that. And I really, enjoyed working with that. And then I even did a couple of presentations on, one of them was on borderline personality disorder. I also became a respect speaker for Fulton State Hospital. I volunteered up there, and then I became a respect speaker, which is kind of doing what I am now, telling my story and how I overcame certain things in my life to get to where I am now. So, but in April 2017, I had a major setback. My son had bipolar as well, and he was never on medication, but he self-medicated with cocaine. And my son died a month after he turned 30 years old from, I guess, severe cocaine abuse. And I can honestly say that my therapist, she just really walked me through this. She was like, I lost my dad 6 months before, which was expected, but then I lost my son, which was unexpected. And she was like, don't, I'm a recovering drug addict. She's like, don't drink, don't drug, don't, and she knows me very well, don't overshop, which I love to do. I love shopping. But, and she was like, sit with the pain. And it hurt. Yeah, it hurt tremendously. I can't even explain how it feels to lose a child. And you don't ever want to know. But just to sit with it and experience, yes, this hurts, but don't medicate that pain. Just sit with it. And, now I'm back, doing better. I mean, for the first, I'm not gonna lie, for the first couple of weeks, I wanted to die. I didn't think my son should be without me. But I have a daughter, and my little grandson, her child. So it took a lot, but I got through it. But in May 2018, I began working for NAMI, and I like to give back to others, because it's important to me for people to see, how bad um, things can get when you're mentally ill, but then how good things also can be once you get, if you do talk therapy, and I have to take medication. Some people don't. I do. I'm one of the people. I have to take medication every day, and I will for the rest of my life to stay, to manage my bipolar. And then, borderline was the DBT was awesome, and also depression. But my passion is fighting mental health stigma. And I want everybody to be able to talk about their mental illness and seek help without, the stigma that's always been attached to it. But one of the stories that I always like to tell people that sticks out in my mind was a 24-year-old KU football player. His name was Brandon Bourbon, and he got a mental health diagnosis in April of 2016. And then he disappeared, and his family couldn't find him. Well, Brandon went and decided to take his own life. And I want people to know that that there's help out there, and just because you get a mental health diagnosis, it's not the end of the world. With work and effort and talk therapy and whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of things. It's no different than AA or NA or a kidney disease support group, whatever. We're out there and we're here, and we want to help others that are living with mental illness to know that it's not the end of the world. And just because you get that diagnosis does not mean that you're going to have a horrible life, because I mean, right now my life is good. Yeah, I miss my son and I miss my dad, but I still have my little grandson. I go to his little soccer games, and they're so much fun to watch little 7-year-olds play soccer. It's so cute. But I just wanted to go to the high schools and talk to the kids, because I don't want them feeling the way I did. And to think that that things don't get better, because life ebbs and flows, and everything. Life can be really crappy at times, and then the next day you might have the best day of your life. But if you give up, you'll never know that. So, and that's why I really want to talk to the high school kids. So we have a program with NAMI called Ending the Silence, where we go into the schools and we talk with somebody who's younger, and tells their story as well of how they've overcome mental illness, or had help with their struggling with their mental illness. But anyway, that's what I have. I wanted to let you guys know I have sent some forms. They're evaluation forms, and when I give this speech, NAMI, when you fill those out, we submit those to the federal government, and then they provide us money and funding. Because we're a nonprofit. So anything that you guys could fill out and submit back to Billy or whoever would be amazing, because that keeps our funding going. Sadly, we do have a warm line here, which a warm line, I don't know if you guys know, it's before you get to crisis. So if somebody's struggling with mental illness, or they have family members that are struggling with mental illness, they can call us here at NAMI, Missouri on our warm line, and we'll talk to them, and just kind of like, before, I mean, if they get suicidal, of course, we want them to call the ACI hotline. But before they get there, I can't tell you how many times I've talked people out of panics and anxiety, panic attacks, anxiety attacks, and things like that, just by talking to them and just talking, it helps. It helps a lot. It helps to have somebody there, listen, who understands what it's like to have a mental illness. So, but sadly, Department of Mental Health cut our funding. We used to have it on the weekends, and now it's just 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And then, sometimes we don't have staffing, because I might be off and somebody else is off, so we don't have staffing. So, but anyway, I love NAMI, and I hope you guys, love NAMI. And, I want everybody to know 1 in 5 people have mental illness. It's not uncommon. But the stigma that surrounds mental health is really, really sad, because a lot of people don't feel like they can reach out, or the stigma that's attached to it, or whatever. Even my dad, as much as, I was daddy's girl, I love my dad, but he told me when I started speaking that I was going to ruin my life by talking about my mental illness. And all it's done for me is open up doors, and I've met the best people. And, not that I didn't have good friends before, but I have met these other people that are also living with mental illness. And it's amazing, because you get this connection with these people that you've never had before. And then, I've met some really, really just, if I need them, they're there. And that's invaluable to me. So, but, and we're trying to get support groups all over Missouri. I mean, I would love to get support groups everywhere started. And, we do, like Jeff City has one that they meet once a month. Mine right now is not going on because of course, COVID. But we do have one that I co-facilitate on Monday nights. It's the Columbia group, and it's on Zoom. So anybody's welcome to join. And then they have the family support group right after the NAMI Connections group is for people living with mental illness. And then they have NAMI family support group after ours on Monday night. So if you have a family member that that is struggling, because let's face it, I mean, I know I love my son, but he put me through, and I'm sure I know I was terrible to my family as well. But my son was very, very ill, and to the point where he was shooting holes in his truck and just doing very irrational things. And I, would have welcomed to talk to somebody who understood what it's like. But you're like, oh my gosh, who can I talk to? Because people are going, oh my God, your kid's nuts, And it would have been nice just to have somebody else connect to. So, so we do have a really good family support group system and stuff like that. So. DBT is dialectical behavioral therapy, and it is so you do like little chapters. Like one will be emotional mind, and you go through all the things that where your emotions, how they control your thinking and the patterns of your thinking and things like that. So you go to emotional mind, wise mind, and then there's I forget, it's 2014 I took this course. So but it helps you to think instead of like my example that I love to give is the chaining part of it. So my therapist, one day I was in there and I was like, oh my God, I was just going off how horrible a day I was having. She goes, well, back up what happened. And I was like, I started telling her something at work, and she goes, no, back up to the very beginning of the day. What happened? I said, well, when I got out of bed, I stepped in cat puke. And she's like, well, how'd that make you feel? I said, well, it's gross. It's cold, it's yucky, And then like if I was getting in my car, I smacked my head, and then I get to work and somebody might have said something, not meaning to be condescending, but it came across condescending. And so, it gets kind of like I'm starting to ramp up. And then on my way home for lunch, because I used to go home at lunchtime, I said this truck driver would not let me get over, and he was being a real jerk, and so I find myself staying on Missouri Boulevard screaming at this truck driver because he wouldn't let me over, and I'm like flipping him the bird and everything. Well, this was 2 weeks after my son died. So I, of course, am on edge, and I'm not thinking with my wise mind. So what I need to do, or I'm not being mindful. What I did, what I learned to do in DBT was you make yourself a little toolbox. Mine is a CD I keep in my car that is piano music, because nothing else calms me down like piano music. And I mean, I'm here to tell you, I love Ozzy and Metallica and all that Motley Crue, but that's not going to help me calm down. So I have a piano music CD. I put that in. You can do smells. It's kind of like you do your senses and what calms you down. If I'm having a really, really bad day, I'm so blessed I work at NAMI because they understand, Nicole's having a bad day, she needs to go home. And I will sit on my sewing machine, and that's all I do. I don't listen to anything. I don't watch anything. I need to be mindful and just, put those pieces of fabric together and run through the machine and just be mindful of exactly what I'm doing. It's an amazing course. And it works for people, whether you're bipolar, borderline. I even have talked to people that don't even have a mental illness, and they use it because it helps you not spiral out of control, or helps you learn how to reel yourself back in. So you're not, yeah, everybody's going to have bad days, but there's things that you can do that will help calm you down. Whether, and I understand that, I'm lucky that I work here because I can go home and take a bowl bath or whatever. But everybody needs, time for themselves. Everybody needs self-care. And when you don't have self-care, especially for people living with mental illness, it's not pretty. I have to have my self-care. And Sundays are my days to binge watch Golden Girls or Friends or whatever, just for me to unwind, to forget about, I love the phones here, but the phones can be very, very hard. Sometimes, most of the time, it's our repeat callers, and they just like to talk, and get, just some, yeah, you're doing good and stuff like that. But sometimes we have callers that call that no matter what you say, you're never going to make them happy. And I've had people scream at me, tell me I shouldn't be on the phones because I'm like, it's hard for me to talk about sexual things because of what happened to me. And they're like, then why are you on the phone? You shouldn't be on the phone. I don't know why Nami has a warm line and put you on there, and stuff like that. And it's like, all right, they're lashing out. You have to really stop and think about it. They're just lashing out. It's not that they think I'm a big piece of crap and I need to fall off the face of the earth. It's just they're having a really bad time and and I've had those. So, you really have to kind of put yourself in that place. But at the same time, that's why I have Sundays. Self-care, hot chocolate, whatever it takes. Camping trips. That's my big thing right now. Camping trips. That's what I like to do to get away. We have a NamiMissouri.org is our actual website. And we have a Facebook page, and I try to post everything like really upbeat, not anything. Every once in a while I'll post something about like COVID, but I try to keep it away from the COVID because I think we have enough of that on our face. So I try to post on Nami Missouri's Facebook page very upbeat, meaningful, and just kind of nice things. I do like to talk about mental illness on there because it does need to be talked about. So. But yeah, anybody can call, whether you're a family member that needs resources or a person living with mental illness. I have a lady call the other day that is she worked at an Alzheimer's unit, and she just needed to talk. So, and that's what we're here for. We're all in this together. So, mental illness is just as important as any other illness. So, if you had diabetes or kidney problems, you would go to the doctor. Well, same thing with mental illness. Trauma is probably one of the main causes, and it's so common. So I just want everybody out there to know you're not alone. We're here, and come by and see us. Well, we have a library with books and DVDs. We have T-shirts we sell. You're always welcome to come by and visit Nami Missouri office here in Jefferson City. Family to Family is given through. I think we have one right now that's going up. It's a course that we offer. It's I don't know how many nights it is. I haven't taken it yet, but it's on Zoom right now, and you can go on NAMI.org and find out all about it. But any of these programs, I've sent the flyers. So if you want, or contact me, at NAMI, Missouri, and my number here is 573-634-7727, and my extension's 202. And you can call me at work. I'm here Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5. And if you can't get a hold of me, you can always push Amy Treefeathers, and hers is extension 207, and she can tell you all about all of our family programs. But that's my story. If you guys have any questions for me, please feel free to ask. So, but thanks for this opportunity so much. I really appreciate it.